Hello, everybody.
Hey, hi.
Welcome to Lorebeards and Roleplaying. We have a great special guest with us today. Uh, his name is Juppe Rantalainen, and he has been a game master for 115 different LARPs. So this is a guy who knows his LARPing. Juppe, would you introduce yourself if there's anything I'm left out?
Yes, as Ross said, I'm Juppe Rantalainen. I'm from Finland. And when we talk about LARPing, it's totally different than when you talk about LARPing, but we'll get to that.
That's fair. That's fair. Vera, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Vera. I make stuff, I do things. I have participated in one LARP ever, Vampire the Masquerade. I quite enjoyed it. But there was a lack of boffers, which made me sad. I'm also a designer for the Warhammer games. I write for the fantasy side of the tabletop RPGs. I'm a online thing doer. I voice act and I make videos and I stream on Twitch. I make stuff and do things. Hi, hello. I'm also going to be a game design teacher as of next year. Haha.
Oh, that's so awesome. And where can people find your voice acting?
I voice acted the cartoon Love Web, which is a cute little show about internet history. So,
Love Web. Okay, we're gonna have to put
yes.
you're gonna have to send me the link so we can put that up on the channel. Hi everybody out there in Chatlands. I can see we're being heard. We get some notes here saying hello, so that's good. I am Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I've worked on a whole bunch of role-playing games, including Star Wars: Edge of the Empire, Torg Eternity, Savage Worlds Rifts, and many, many more. I have done one LARP, and like Vera, it was a vampire LARP. They were very common in the 90s.
Yep.
But we're here today to talk about LARPing in general, but also LARP in terms of Nordic LARP. So I should start out by saying LARP is an acronym which stands for Live Action Roleplay. And my research indicates that this actually started very early. It was most scholars trace the modern form of LARPing back to 1977 and the founding of a group called Dagur here, which is a DC area full contact medieval battle game. And that sounds kind of awesome, honestly.
And
Yeah,
you know,
like-
the people from the Czech Republic claim that they started at the 50s.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
I
interesting.
would believe that. Like, it's intuitive, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's something very natural about this.
And so it's an interactive form of collaborative storytelling and play where participants physically embody fictional characters. They act out scenarios in real time rather than describing their actions around a table. And it blends improvisational theater and costuming with game mechanics and social interaction into one deeply immersive experience. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we could stop the whole thing.
I've got it covered. Nice.
Oh, that's funny. So I don't. You're gonna have to help me out here, Yupe. But I think you can break down LARP into three different categories. Boffer LARPs, which are combat focused, and they use foam padded weapons, which are also called boffers.
Yep.
And then there's the parlor or chamber style of LARP, which is narrative and role play heavy and usually set indoors with a small number of rooms. And then the third one is Nordic LARP, which you happen to be an expert on. And this originates in Scandinavia. It prioritizes deep immersion, emotional storytelling, minimal rules, and socio-critical or experimental themes. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and everything and the kitchen sink. So you can have Nordic buffer LARP with still very limited rules and whatever, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, that's the typical trio that we are fed when we are talking about LARPing.
Now, Vera, you've LARPed before, is that right?
Yeah, a little bit of vampire. Similar to your experience, I would assume. More recently, though.
How long ago did you LARP?
I want to say like 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and this was a parlor style or
Yeah,
boffer?
more or less. Like there'd be breakout groups for going to do vampire things out and about, but it was a meet once every 2 weeks kind of scenario, recurring characters, an ongoing story.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. My Vampire LARP experience was 1998, so 27 years ago, 28
I
years
was
ago.
I was running Vampire at that time as a LARP game master.
Now, back then, I mean, you could identify LARPers because they were using exaggerated hand signals to show off their vampire powers. Like this was crossing your arms over your chest was obfuscation, if I remember right. And it's been a long time. I can't remember all of them.
And you know, if you were playing werewolf, this was being in Krynos form.
That's right. Holding your hands up high and in little
And
paws.
you couldn't cope under doorways because you got stuck.
Would you believe it still works that way? It's the same thing.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's great.
my side theater was terrible and still is.
Yeah, I
opinions.
mean,
I wasn't using my inside theater for my games.
So LARP has become a worldwide phenomenon, and we are going to be talking about a few specific styles today. These are some briefs that I got about different parts of the world, and I'll just say them out loud, but I'm going to be really clear. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. This is just what my research picked up when I was trolling the internet to find out the different ways that LARP is represented around the world. So take this with a big grain of salt. But my understanding is that in the United States, it is very boffer heavy and tends to follow a lot of pulp culture lines, zombies, superheroes, post-apocalyptic. We have a post-apocalyptic LARP here in Denver, actually, that did a lot for a very long time. And usually in the USA, they're kind of long-running campaigns with level up systems. That's my understanding. Germany tends to have large-scale events, stuff like Conquest of Methodia.
Yep.
Which draws thousands of people, and they focus mostly on ambiance and equipment. I did live in Germany for a while. I never went to any of these. I kind of wish I had, though.
Yeah, they just had like 800 people Fallout LARP.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. France, I've never been to France, so but my understanding is that French LARPs, I should say, tend to be historical in like real castles with a close. It's almost like reenactment. That's my understanding. And then in Poland and Eastern Europe, they do a lot of Slavic mythology, a lot of Witcher style stuff.
Also,
and
lots of post-apo there as well.
Stands for post-apocalyptic. Is post-apo,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. Japan has a lot of cosplay involved, and they, of course, tend to draw on anime and manga or samurai styles, which I think is really cool. And in South Korea, they tend to integrate a lot of video game elements, including augmented reality and virtual reality. I have lived in South Korea, but it was a long time before any of this. So there you go. Now, we should probably, maybe, Yupe, you could tell us, how does a LARP work?
They really don't. Well, the style of LARPing that I do, which is a Nordic LARP, or as we say, the Finnish Nordic LARP, is that a game master or designer comes up with an idea and writes the story and the characters. And then there is a period of enrollment for people to sign up. And then the game master casts the players into the characters and sends them over. And then the players build their gear, make their clothes, get into their characters, perhaps contact with their characters, contact players. And then comes the actual LARP, we all get there. We go through all the security stuff and the very few rules that the Finnish LARPs typically have, and everyone gets ready to be in their character. Someone else, the game starts, and then we have anything from a couple of hours to a whole weekend of in-game time, and someone yells, game ends, and then we start to get off our characters. And yeah, and during a LARP, we typically go for immersive way of doing things, so there is very little like rule checking and whatever. There might be some like game master given advices or even mechanical things that make you do something, but typically we try to go with the flow. So there are the rules if we need them, but we try not to check them during the game. So there isn't anyone just taking a rule book and going through it, and there is very little stopping the game for rules issue. There might be like someone shouting off game, which means that now I'm giving you something like meta advice. Everybody falls asleep for 5 minutes, and everyone does this. And it's kind of an honor system. So if someone gives you like game advice, you trust that they are actually able to do that as a character, or there is like a game master given reason for it. Yeah. And then it's anything from living your day-to-day life as a character to having like a high adventure, so or doing religious rituals or whatever. Experiencing the most terrible hangover of your life. An actual Finnish convention game. It's called Prayers on a Porcelain Altar.
I see.
The after party is a big part of it, I think.
Yeah. The after parties of LARPs, they used to be wild. The current generation is much more healthier than mine, and they are a bit more mellow. But yeah.
Okay. So Vera, when you did a LARP here just a few years back,
mm-hmm.
What was the experience like for you?
It was a lot more regimented. Like we were using the older version of Vampire LARP, but it was still like storytelling systems, and it was some amount of Mother May I for what you can accomplish. It was a lot of us in the same room together. It was held indoors, of course, because it was a regular event. There was some costuming. People played the same characters. Obviously, they weren't assigned. I know that a lot of more organized, larger LARP events will distribute characters and allow for like input when you're creating them. But this was from the ground up within Vampire's system, so the energy is a little bit different, right?
Well, was character creation any different from making a character for a Vampire tabletop game?
Only in that we were explicitly told to really aggressively pursue certain things mechanically, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to really play, which I found disconcerting from the go. Like if you didn't have I forget what the physical enhancement powers are called, but there was some set that was considered basically mandatory to participate in events, and
Potence and Fortitude.
Yeah. This sounds right. And there were certain restrictions on what kinds of vampire clans you could originate from, depending on your expertise and like time in the org. So it wasn't quite like sitting down at the table with friends.
Yeah, I think, well, my experience with it, we did make characters more or less on a character sheet, just like you would. Although the organizer again, this is 1999 or 98, so it would have been 27 years ago. but back then, it was very, very similar to making a character for a tabletop game. But the costuming and the props are the thing I think that most people are like, whoa, holy cow, that's a LARPer. Somebody shows up with a full suit tailored for that particular style of game, or with contacts, or prosthetic horns and teeth. I've seen a lot of really amazing LARP cosplay, for example.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a couple of people who would kind of get into it. I myself, I had a wardrobe for the character. I had gone to Goodwill and looked through things that were appropriate for where she was from, what she was up to. I had my own pair of fangs that I still have that are quite a lot of fun, but a lot of people really didn't do much costuming, and then some really went for it.
Got a super chat here from Ice Veins. Do you want to read this one, Vera?
Yeah, Ice Veins, thank you so much. The largest LARP event in North America takes place in Bicoline, Quebec, Canada, mostly focusing on the medieval experience. Oh yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Ice Veins.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate the super chats. It is the best way to keep the channel going and to make sure that we are producing great content for you guys. So we are very grateful to all of the supporters who send us a super chat. Now, game mechanic wise, this is me just talking, although I'm sure Yupe knows a lot more about it than I do. Game mechanic wise, this is probably the biggest thing to adjust when you are coming from a tabletop environment to try a LARP. You are not rolling dice, right? You're not just walking around with the dice tray and dice.
Actually, in the history, there are several dice incidents.
Oh, all right. Let's hear it.
Actually, when Mike Pohjola published the first version of his Age of the Storm role-playing game, some American LARPers actually thought it was a LARP rule set because it was also connected to a large LARP back in the day. So it uses D6 something mechanic, and they were like, there's nothing new about using D6s in LARP. But yeah, the earlier version. Oh, Age of the Tempest, yeah. Myrskyn aika in Finnish. But yeah, the first version was thought by some people to be a LARP rule system.
Yeah, this is a role-playing game by is it Mike or Mike? It's Mike, isn't it?
Mike, we say, yeah.
Yeah, Mike. I'm gonna murder his name, so I apologize. But it's Pohjola. Pohjola. Mike Pohjola. Okay, and he's a very cool dude. He actually gave me this copy when I met him in Finland. I just happen to have a copy of that role-playing game, so I thought I'd brought it out. It's rare. I very rarely get to show that one off, so I was like, let me do it. Let me grab this one.
But yeah, I was back then one of the admins on this internet LARP forum called the Sadie's LARP list, which was like the biggest international LARP forum 25 years ago. And some people really thought that D6 system was a LARP mechanic, and they were mostly from the Northern America.
Well, I know I was very surprised to find out that in the storyteller system, or excuse me, not the Mind's Eye Theater is what it was called.
Yeah.
For Vampire and the World of Darkness as a LARP. Yep. The mechanic in those games was you would do a challenge with somebody, right? And then you would play rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know if I have 5 dots and you have 1 dot, how does this work? Because you could just beat me, right? On rock, paper, scissors.
We used in one of our vampire games that I wasn't a game master in the rock, paper, scissors version as well. And I was just in my character going to say one word to our prince. And there was 15 people trying to use Hatenet senses to ease.
Wow.
So I had to do like 30 rock, paper, scissors matches to say that one word. And
You had to do 30 rock, paper, scissors challenges
yeah, because
to say
some
one
of
word.
them were like draws. So and because I had to do every single of those matches before I could go through with my in-game action. It took like a couple of minutes
Could I
because there was a
assume
line
this
of
would?
people.
Can I
And
assume this would work differently in Nordic LARP? Like you wouldn't have to rule that out.
Nope, no rock paper scissors if we can avoid them. It's been used, but it's not very common or popular. My vampire games actually used like the discipline descriptions and whatever from the World of Darkness books, but it was all used with honor system. And if we had combat, they had like a calculated total value of stuff that had something to do with combat, and you would say, well, my value is 56. Oh, mine is only 22, so I lose. And then you act it out. That was very rules heavy for a Finnish system. it had mechanics for off-game talk.
Now, Vera,
that's not typical.
Vera, you're probably familiar with how boffer mechanics work, where it's a lot of verbal declarations, right? There's that famous clip from the early internet of the guy saying, lightning bolt, throwing little bags.
That, yes.
Right? I remember one, may have been Amped Guard, I'm not sure, but it was one where you would declare the type of damage and the number every time you hit someone with your weapon. You'd be like, too holy, too holy, too holy if you hit them with a holy longsword, right?
Yep.
So calling things out is declarations are also a way to do mechanics, and I think, in my opinion, go ahead.
And that's very good way to do it in a buffer LARP. We still do it when we have like very action-packed buffer LARPs. They are making a comeback.
I would also assume that a good LARP would have some sort of safety word like halt or stop, or as you said, go to sleep for 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, off game.
Off game.
We use hold.
Hold. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a safety briefing for you, Vera?
Mostly on consent. That was about it. Which is important.
That's very much of the safety briefing that I do in my LARPs. It's about consent.
There was like no like physical violence as part of it, though, and that was pretty much all they said about it. There was no need for a warning about like, hey, don't go for the eyes, because no one was going for anything, as a matter of fact.
27 years ago, the briefing was basically do not touch anyone without permission. And that includes attacks.
My Inside Theater was very, very strict about that. No touching, no real-looking weapons, no real-looking anything, actually.
So, fun note here. Since 2020, since the end of COVID, LARP has grown roughly 30% in the United States, which is pretty great. The American LARP scene tends to be kind of on the East Coast. That's where I was when I played it. And I know, Vera, you're an East Coaster.
Yes.
So would you agree that it seems more common out there, or?
For the most part, yes. Although I have seen a few events that are, I would guess, sort of LARP styled. There's this thing called Wasteland Weekend that happens out in the Salt Flats.
Yes.
Which is yeah. It's sort of like a music festival, but it's also sort of like a LARP. There's a cyberpunk version of this also that takes place at a different part in the season, where the idea is you go out and sort of have character arcs which fit into the setting of this festival, and it seems like a lot of fun, but is more parlor style and more loose and more a theme for the things that normally happen at an event that's kind of like Burning Man. So pretty cool, but a different kind of game, let's say.
Yeah, I think
sounds like a Nordic LARP from the past.
So Wasteland Weekend I have heard of, which is, in my understanding, is a very Mad Max style post-apocalyptic or post-apo game.
Yeah.
But if there's a cyberpunk version, I'm suddenly far more interested in it now.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Neotropolis.
It's called what?
It's called Neotropolis.
Neotropolis. That sounds awesome. Okay.
Mojave.
Ross, we are going there next year.
It is happening in 2027. Ross?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to, but I don't. I have a Rogue Trader code. If we do a 40K LARP sometime, I'm prepared. I am prepared.
It's only 5 days of hanging out in the desert.
What could possibly go wrong?
It'll be great.
Now, there is a concept, I should say a word that I'm going to say soon that I bet both of you, or I know Yupe knows it 100%, but I'd like to hear if you know about it too, Vera. It's a concept called bleed.
I've heard of this before. When I was a young kid, my father explained to me what happened when I skinned my knee and was bleed.
not that kind of bleed.
Oh, I'm lost then. Sorry.
Not that kind of bleed. Yupe, do you want to describe what bleed is?
Yeah, bleed is when your character's emotions and feelings and whatever bleed into you. So when you actually have a difficult time like separating your own feelings and your character's feelings. And at one point, this was something that we actually aimed for in Nordic LARP scene. It wasn't a very healthy idea, and it wasn't encouraged by the community, but we still did it. And that is kind of the way that the Nordic LARP rolls, is that we have these 3 different grades of fun, which is 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, and C. And like buffer LARPing and other stuff that you do that is actually enjoyable while you are doing it and afterwards, that's the type 1 or type A fun. Then we have the thing to do with the bleed, which is type 2 or type B fun, which is not very fun while you're doing it, but it feels good afterwards. And that's where the Nordic LARP kind of is still. We like to do stuff that isn't actually, fun, but it's enjoyable to think afterwards, and it's enjoyable when you get like the cathartic experience afterwards, or during, or whatever. And then there's the type 3 or type C, which is not fun during or after, which is like the very worst Finnish games.
My favorite.
Yeah, that's the place where I am at, or something like that.
So bleed
I don't aim to please even myself. So.
According to my research, bleed is a emotional transfer between a character and the player. When the character experiences something like grief or triumph or betrayal, those feelings can genuinely affect the player's own mood and sometimes even their psyche. Now, my understanding is, now this is where I want you to chime in, Yupe, is my understanding is that Nordic LARP especially treat bleed as something that needs to be consciously managed to help players set expectations and post-event debriefs to help them decompress.
Yes, because we had issues about people aiming for bleed, so we had to do more debriefing. Even before bleed became a thing, we were very conscious about the emotional gaming affecting you, and we had a lot of debriefing even in the late 90s, especially in the early 2000s. But when we started going more towards like very, very deep emotionally loaded games, the whole expectation management before the game, and like having personal safety discussions with your contact players before the game, and then shit ton of debriefing afterwards became like necessity for most people and most LARPs. And it's something that you will get a bad name, a bad reputation if you don't take these needs seriously in the Nordic scene.
So this makes LARP one of the very, very few recreational hobbies that has a built-in psychological processing tool.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, and there's like tons of academia behind it, and it's been published in our annual scientific LARP journals in Nudepunkt or Solmukohta conventions, which is a big convention that goes around the Nordic countries.
I want to talk about Nudepunkt, actually. But first...
I haven't been there for ages, but yeah.
But first, I was going to ask Vera, have you ever experienced bleed between your LARP character and yourself?
During LARP, not really.
Can you think of an example of LARP or LARP bleed that we may have seen in pop culture or something like that?
Oh boy, I mean, going into any of the Satanic Panic films, right? Like
Mazes and Monsters is like
they're just about that. Yeah,
touchstone,
that's copious bleeding.
But we see bleed every time we open like the celebrity section of we don't have printed media anymore, but when we did, because when like the main actors in a movie get together romantically, that's bleed.
Right. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, good example.
Yeah. So that's very typical bleed, and I've started relationships with my like romantic contacts.
Because LARP is so immersive, it has a difference. It hits different, as the kids say, than it does around the tabletop. Wouldn't you agree, Vera?
I would say it's a different experience. Maybe it's a factor of the kind of experience I had doing LARP. I've often become more immersed at the tabletop, though. Maybe because the character relationships felt better developed over time, or because it was more consistent. But my White Wolf experience, I did not get like fully immersed, and I'll put it like that.
Well, I think one of the problems with LARPing in the United States, and this is from a lot of experience, but it is from over 15 years ago. So again, here's your giant grain of salt. But at least prior to 2010, let's put it that way, most of the time I saw people LARPing in the United States, I saw them doing this at conventions. Anime conventions, sci-fi conventions, role-playing game conventions. Almost any convention where you had a bunch of people get together, there was usually a LARP or two going on at the event.
Yeah, this is still the case. Even at events that have a more minimal tabletop presence, you'll often see some kind of like ongoing LARP throughout the entire thing. And then I would say a lot of conventions do have a strong like tabletop, or if not RPG, at least card game presence that lends itself to that scene, because there's a lot of crossover, believe it or not. But even like VTuber focused conventions will have tabletop rooms and roleplay style things happening. So
I was today years old when I found out there are VTuber conventions.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, this sounds. Do you attend in person? I presume not.
Some people do. It depends.
Oh wow, that's wild. Okay. I'm gonna have to pick your brain about this later.
Yeah, there's a what happens in Vegas element. Like it's like no photography and stuff. These are offline meetups. Like a lot of us do not like deliberately do not like break kayfabe, etc. But there's definitely a presence. So we'll discuss this later. But there's RPGs there.
I will say this: that the LARPs I encountered at conventions in the 90s certainly were. I don't feel like they really understood what they were doing yet. Let's put it that way. And they tended to be, in my experience, they tended to be very disruptive of the events. But that has lessened. And lately, anytime I've gone to a convention in the last 10 years or so, and there's a LARP, there hasn't been any issues. But back in the 90s and early 2000s, you would find a lot of LARPs would just take over rooms and kick people out of communal areas so that they could have their little events. Or they would do things like, hey, this vampire is now dead. We're just going to dump an ashtray on the floor and put a name tag on the top of it. I'm not joking. I actually found that happen at a hotel.
Yeah, I can believe you. We have a very strong tradition of pervasive games that are actually, played in the middle of real people in, city centers and whatever. So the disruptive convention LARPs disappeared very quickly in the 90s. and when they were more like disruptive for the conventions were still very small. That was when Ropecon was like 1,000 people, and it was the biggest in Finland. And then everybody expected the LARPers to, put on a show. So I killed a person with an exploding carrot in the middle of some briefing room of whatever. This was Paranoia LARP in 97.
Wow. I will say that in the 90s, I felt the LARP scene was unsatisfying for me, but ever since the mid 2000s, I think I've started to become more and more interested in it, and especially as the cosplay has evolved and the options have evolved, because I wasn't that into vampire, but I love the idea of a cyberpunk role-playing game. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be there. Now, Vera, you played in the last 5 years. Is Mindside Theater still the thing, or is it just
it's the same as you remember it being?
Okay. Wow, that bad, huh? Okay.
I really respect the work that goes into it. It was not for me. I'll put it like that. It was not an experience I was able to like really immerse myself in. I found it counterproductive to getting in character in some ways.
Well, listen, I have talked some shit about LARPs in my time, and I've talked shit about LARP on this episode. I want to be really clear. I am talking shit about the LARP that I was a part of almost 30 years ago. It has come a long way. It's better now, guys. I promise. And even though I did not have a great experience, there are people out there, lots of people, who have amazing experiences with LARP because it is so immersive and so different from a tabletop environment.
There are people who are willing to use like several $1,000 or euros for a weekend at a LARP. They will travel from a different continent to participate in a very much not Harry Potter LARP in a Polish castle, or
legally distinct.
Yes, legally distinct, and or participate in a very Battlestar Galactica like LARP in Finland.
Oh, that was the one on the submarine, right?
No, that was in the submarine LARP. No, it was actually Monitor class ship. That was in Sweden. In Finland, they built a large spaceship inside a public school during the summer vacation.
Wow.
And it was so well done that it actually looks better than most like movie props.
Wow.
And they had like guided tours for regular people when they were not playing. They actually started tried to kickstart this as a business this year. Sadly, they didn't get their 800,000 euros of crowdfunding. They should have. It was a very good project, but they got into like halfway. And but perhaps they will rise again. It's too much work to do in like a volunteer type thing. And they've run the game like 6 times now, 3 times in 2 different years. But they were trying to buy a place and build a permanent spaceship and have it run year round, and also rent it for like other spaceship LARPers.
Well,
that's cool.
You guys might talk me into getting back into LARP.
Yeah.
And I think Vera's like, we should come out here and do some LARPing. So she's ready, I think. I don't know.
The issue I had with Vampire LARP was I didn't feel like I was on the same wavelength, I would say, with what I wanted out of pacing of the story or what the focus would be on. I didn't have like a clear brief on what it was going to be like beforehand, and I felt like I was both brought into the fold too fast, actually, and like dealt in like quite rapidly in an unsatisfying way. And then like I had to play catch up. And in that way, I think there's an advantage to these weekend-based LARP experiences where you go out there and you have a brief and you are participating in a story that you sort of have an angle on and you're immersed in that the entire time.
Yeah.
It was awkward in some ways to every 2 weeks play out this meeting of vampires that would then split off into time-dilated activities and so on. There was a lot of hand-waving to make it function.
Yeah, it's very strange that kind of all of the Vampire Chronicles from since the time Vampire the Masquerade became king have tried this we will play very often method of LARPing, because it's vampire game. You don't have to play more than once a year because the time doesn't matter to vampires, and if they're playing every second week, there will be so much escalation at some point that the campaign will become ridiculous. And that's been the death of most Vampire Chronicles I have seen. I think we did like 4 games in a week at one point. That didn't work really well.
That's a lot.
Well, I'd call it a real narrative challenge in a system where the characters constantly amass power in ways that are pretty incredible. Like you've got these top-level characters who are quite broken, and then what that leads to is a checklist of things you must have so your character can interact with much anything meaningfully, and then that's a contrivance I dislike in any role-playing game where I literally need some checklist of skills to play.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring up a comment from somebody because it's hilarious. Stefan Rowe says, it may sound ridiculous, but there's a big intimidation factor about a dude wailing on you with a foam great axe shouting 6 stagger damage over and over. Yeah, I can see that being intimidating.
Yeah. And if you're, immersed in your Boffer LARP, that someone shouting a number that you don't expect.
6, I thought it was 1.
Yeah. I remember in a game where most spells were from 1 to 3 points, and then one of our players yells 20. And everyone just sits themselves.
Would you, Vera, are you ready to talk about Nordic LARP, or did you have anything more you wanted to say on the regular LARP?
No, I'm excited to get into Nordic LARP. I think that it is a style of game that's appealed to me quite a lot in the past. I did quite a bit of research into it at one point. I was quite intrigued by this, but just have no opportunities around me for like a proper weekend experience. So yeah.
So my understanding of Nordic LARP, and again, Yuppie, I want you to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that it started in the mid 80s in Norway and Sweden and Denmark and Finland.
Yep.
And it had a critical turning point in 1997 with the first Knutepunkt conference, which means crossroads, if I remember right.
Yes.
And it brought all 4 communities together for the first time.
And then we discovered that we don't even do the same thing. we had to create a language at the, after the first Knutepunkt.
And my understanding is it actually rotates. Knutepunkt rotates amongst those countries, and it has a different name. It's Knutepunkt in Norway, Knutpunkt in Sweden, Knutepunkt in Denmark, and Solmukohta in Finland. Right?
Yay, Solmukohta.
Oh, I almost got it. I was close.
Yeah.
And Nudepunkt is kind of the intellectual heartbeat of the tradition ever since. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So, and this led to a book that was published in 2010, which was literally called Nordic LARP. It was written by Marcus Montola and Jaco Stenros, I believe.
Yes.
And this is what formalized the identity and tradition of Nordic LARP and brought it to a more global audience.
Yeah, of course, we had published the like Nudepunkt annuals for like 10 years before that, but that was like the main book project.
There's a guy, a fairly famous, at least as according to my information, he's famous, a Norwegian LARPer named Erlend Eidsum Hansen.
Yeah.
You know this guy?
Yep.
And he said very famously that Nordic LARP, it's more like singing in a choir than doing sports.
Yeah, why not?
Could you explain the core philosophy of Nordic LARP? What separates Nordic LARP from regular LARP?
Well, I would say that regular LARP, be it Buffer LARP or Champion LARPs in many different countries, has more like competition. It's competitive, and Nordic LARP isn't. We play to lose. That's one of the core things, and we also play to lift. So we don't want to lift our own characters or our own selves, but the player next to us. So you make a lot of decisions that are not very smart from your like victory condition point of view.
Right. It's more it's collaborative rather than competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's a good way to say it. And of course, we have to remember that I'm not very contemporary LARPer anymore, and I'm not relevant LARPer anymore. And it's been some time since my Nudepunkt days. And the opinions of Nordic LARP differ from, if there is 20,000 Nordic LARPers, they all have different opinion about Nordic LARP. So, but these are the things that we most likely can agree on. Is that it's less of a competition and more of a collaboration, and it's depending on a country. There is a lot of character immersion. Some game masters in different countries do more like a workshop-like approach to character design and have the players interacting there. Or some people like to write their own stories, but it's still there is a lot more context and a lot more depth in the characters than in your typical buffer LARP. And
So-
this is something that actually already took place before the birth of Nordic LARP in the first Nudepunkt, because when I started playing at 97, I was doing this in a big like goblin and orc LARP. So we actually were playing the monsters, and we had very long contexts and character histories and whatever. And that was very typical of the time, even if the LARP itself wasn't focused on those monster races or whatever, that you had like a raiding orc band, and they all had like dozen contacts and deeply emotional plots and that kind of stuff. So they were not there just to like rob you and kill your character. They were there to have feelings. But yeah.
Go ahead, Vera.
So what's an example setting for a LARP weekend that would lend itself to this kind of experience? And what's an example character that might, take place within that?
Good question.
Well, That's a very good question. Currently, I'm trying to have a replay of my LARP that is set on a Thanksgiving dinner with a family that has drifted apart and their neighbors and whatever. And it's and it's 30 people from like small town getting together, trying to work through their issues, and they have to do with like socioeconomical differences and like the generational gap between people that were born in 60s and people who have been born like 20 years ago, and how to deal with like sexuality and gender norms, problems with like substance abuse and whatever. So that's kind of typical small Nordic game.
Wow.
Okay.
And a character, what kind of character would you find there, as an example?
Well, go outside and throw a rock at your neighbor's door and ask who he is. So that's the character. So at that game, they are not anything more than normal people with normal issues. Then again, you might have like the 12 people after a company Christmas party having the hangover of the life in the like suite of a hotel. So that's a Nordic LARP as well.
Super
Or
cool.
like very old introductory LARP to Nudepunkt in Norway. It was like 2009 or something. Was about kids who had been on a school trip and something bad happened there, and then they meet like 15 years later during like a class reunion thing and try to deal with them.
Shared trauma. That's really awesome, actually.
Yeah, and it's also very Nordic because we used like flashbacks as scenes. So we actually also played the things that went wrong during the original school trip. So that's one of the things that is very Nordic as well, is use of like meta techniques. We might have flashback scenes. We might have like black box rooms where you can go and have like, well, more like tabletop session about stuff that is happening that can't be done with props or is not safe to act out. And there are like dozens of different toolbox items we have.
Well, let me go through, I think, some of the things that I have down for bullet points about Nordic LARP. And again, this is why you're here, is you can tell me you're wrong or you're right, which I love.
Yes, you are both.
Full disclosure, Yuppie and I are very old friends, so he is not afraid. He's not afraid to call me on my bullshit if I get something wrong. And here's what my understanding is that one of the things that separates Nordic LARP from regular LARP is that Nordic LARP is far more of a collective artistic creation and far less of a game. Where, go ahead. Let's start with that.
The first part is true. The second part, less of a game, is point of view. Some of us still consider that this is a game instead of art, and I might even be on the this is a game school myself, but I think considering the current Nordic LARP, the art might be the word to use. Yeah.
So the reason I say less of a game is because there's typically no stats, no levels. And the rules, if they exist at all, are generally meant to disturb immersion as little as possible. Immersion is the goal, typically.
Yeah. We must also remember that the Nordic countries still have like a great buffer LARP scenes and whatever. So they do coexist.
Okay.
And people participate in both.
Sure thing.
So
okay.
Denmark has like very big German style Warhammer games, and we have a growing scene for like young people doing buffer LARPing and whatever. And Harry Potter LARPs have always been kind of rule heavy from my point of view.
Well, they have to be. The magic is nothing but.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of magic heavy games with very, very little rules, but it's still the honor system. So you know what you can do and others will obey.
Do you feel like the Nordic LARP ethos has affected how Boffer manifests up there? Like that's sort of the style of those games as a result?
In Finland, at one point, LARPing and Boffer scene just separated. So the people who are doing buffering aren't really LARPing anymore. And that was mainly because creating a Finnish LARP is a lot of work. You write like a couple of novels worth of stuff. And organizing a weekend when you go and beat up other people with foam swords isn't a lot of work compared to that. So, and also, you can just get like a weekly time at some gym and go buffering there. So it's more like a regular hobby than LARPing. So some people that were, starting families, having kids, whatever, being busy at work, decided that they just want like the sports side of LARPing and went do that on their own. And that scene actually kind of destroyed Finnish LARP for a couple of years. We went down to like 1/5 of the players that we used to have.
Wow.
And the type of games we were able to do were very limited. You couldn't do like big fantasy games anymore. And when we typically had like Finland is a very small country. We only have like 5.5 million people. And we typically had during summers like 8 to 10 weekender games every weekend, which had like 150 players. And a couple of years later, when the buffer scene went up, we could do like one game per weekend for 70 players.
Well, 70 players is a lot for an American LARP, and 150 players, that's a big ass LARP in America.
It's huge.
That's the way I started the 150 player fantasy games. It was like the typical number of beds you would get like at a camping site. So,
well, let me make my argument for why I think it's more of an art form than a game.
Yeah.
So I think, again, this is me speculating, but I think if you have the minimal rules and you have no stats, and you have no leveling, you also have these events very much unlike America. These events in Nordic countries typically are nonprofit, collectively organized, and they are basically just voluntary self-organization. They're not really you don't have to pay money to buy a ticket typically.
You have to pay money,
okay.
But it's typically cost of the game, the actual cost. So
okay.
It's no one is getting paid. Perhaps the game masters will have like pizza party afterwards.
Okay.
But,
yeah, nobody's getting rich off of it. And
there are some people who do like professional games, but that's not very profitable here.
Well, the professional side is what I was just about to talk about, because the Nordic tradition, as far as I am aware, they explicitly look at LARPing as a valid form of expression that's worthy of analysis and debate and continuous experimentation.
Yes.
And I think that is where you kind of elevate it from a game to art.
Yep. You can consider that to be a valid argument. Yeah.
So what are you familiar with a term called the 360-degree illusion?
Yeah, I am.
What is that?
And well, typically that is what you see is what you get. And or well, that's the my side of that thing. There are several schools. 360-degree illusion can also mean that through immersion you will change everything everywhere to fit the game world and your immersion. I'm from the old school that actually tries to make it so that everything that is at the scene is part of the game. So it's either choosing your locations very carefully or having a very good prop team.
Basically, it's a way of saying total immersion.
Yeah.
You know, your environment, your props, your costumes, your behavior, they all must be authentic to represent the game world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's something that people are stepping out of these days more. It's become more like a issue of security and consent that the immersion is not so popular at the moment. It's still, of course, in very much higher levels than it's in your typical buffer LARP, but it's we are not saying like immersion über alles anymore.
All right,
I am.
You're that guy. You're the one saying immersion.
But I'm not relevant anymore, and that's one of the reasons I'm not relevant anymore. Because you know, I think it's like the reason why immersion isn't that big is that we have changed the view of the player from participant to customer. And you can't have 100 customers all getting the service they want and have 360-degree of immersion. You can have participants because they are working towards the same goal and they are not being selfish about it. But I view the current new LARPer generation like more with a customer-like mentality instead of participant-like mentality, and they are very much taking agency to a higher level, and it's actually taking a lot of agency from the game masters. And the design has changed because of this. But when we are talking about traditional Nordic LARPing, the 360-degree illusion is a valid term and something we old timers value.
Yeah, that's an interesting distinction. I feel like when most people think of a role-playing game in the States, at least, they envision something where they're either the protagonist or a character that they shape towards their own goals pretty strongly. The idea of a game where everyone's participating towards some shared purpose in ways that are self-sabotaging of your objectives even, I think is foreign to a lot of players.
Yep.
And
that's been one of the reasons why it's very difficult to sell Nordic LARP to Eastern European countries as well.
I can tell you
I see.
The thing that surprised me most was hearing Yuppie talk about some of the I would say confrontational or maybe disturbing aspects. Like sometimes Nordic LARP can go places where you're like, that doesn't sound like fun, until, as Yuppie talked about earlier, until afterwards, and you're like, wow, that was so cathartic to go through, and I get this sort of emotional release at the end.
Yep. I've played serial killers and abusive parents and abused characters and like deranged people, and that's at some point we had a really strong like mental asylum scene. It was a very typical LARP to play mental patients.
One of the LARPs that I came across during my research is called Just a Little Lovin' from 2011. And the
very famous Nordic LARP, yeah.
The premise of this one is it was set in 1983 New York, and it was exploring friendship, desire, and the fear of death amongst the LGBTQ plus communities during the early AIDS crisis.
Yep.
It's the full script is downloadable, and it was staged 7 times internationally.
Yeah, and at least 3 times in Finland after that.
Yeah, it was designed by let me make sure I get this name correct. I'm going to try, but Tor Kjetil, Edlund, and Hanne Grasmo.
Yeah,
are the creators of that one. There was a LARP. You've got to talk about Vera. You've got to hear about this LARP, okay? Because the way Yupe described it to me is that everybody started out naked and covered in jelly, in like a dark room.
Yeah, that was game I did with my ex-wife, or actually it was her game.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just logistics and some of the ideas.
Oh, you were in charge of providing the jelly. I see.
Yeah, I actually did provided the jelly. That and feeding the game masters was my biggest thing. It was a game called Amnesia, and it was set in a spaceship that was traveling towards, I think, a black hole or something. And all the players woke up from cryosleep. Of course, they were covered in jelly and wrapped in plastic. And then they cleaned up and tried to find some clothing and whatever. They did have like a set of clothing that they knew where to find off game. And they also found the personal items of their characters, and they kind of instinctively knew that these were my things, but that was the only thing that they remembered. And they had everyone had like a small journal in their personal items, and as they went through the LARP and found out different things and interacted with the spaceship and the one NPC they had there, they got to like rip open these glued pages inside the journal that had like game mechanic or things or like memories they would find. And it was the whole game was like an escape room. So they had to actually do like small tasks and puzzles and whatever to open up the spaceship and get in control of the spaceship. One of the tasks was actually cutting open the NPC's stomach and getting a key.
Wow.
And we had like prosthesis prop that you could cut open.
Nice.
And there was like X-ray pictures on the ceilings that showed that there was like a unknown item inside some person, and when they found out who it was, they went and cut it open. But yeah, that's also a very Nordic thing.
Yeah,
less nudity these days, but it was there. And J-Lo.
Yeah. On the wiki, I saw some reference to nudity. I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah. Nordic LARP typically they like to explore socially serious subject matter. It's not just, beating up orcs and goblins, like he was saying earlier. There's like political oppression, historical atrocities, sexuality, mental illness, grief, mortality, war, colonialism, class struggle, all of those things.
That sounds like a good game.
And
that's people like one game, all these things.
The guiding principle that as far as I understand it, is that fiction, especially through LARPing, is a safe way to experience unsafe emotions, to experience that darkness in a controlled, consensual, collaborative space, so that it can produce genuine empathy and insight.
Yeah. And it's for player perspective, it's like a very strange place to start when you are given a character that is like a serial killer. And then you start thinking how I'm going to make this guy the protagonist of the story instead of like a monster. Of course, he still is a monster, but there is some sick logic behind the character. And he typically thinks he's the good guy. So when you get immersed in that kind of character, it's kind of what would I say? It takes a long shower afterwards to get over the character.
Yeah, when you're exploring,
a lot of debriefing with your contact players.
Yeah, the debriefing. I was just about to talk about that, because if you're doing some really heavy emotions and you're doing it with heavy immersion and you're doing it without like the shield of a character sheet or the dice to kind of help you, I imagine Vera, you back me up on this, right? The safety tools have got to be extensive, right?
Well, it sounds almost like aftercare, right? Like,
yeah,
you're into some intense stuff there, and the dynamics are dangerous and scary. Like, you're tapping into difficult places. Like, the idea of role-playing out scenes from the AIDS crisis is pretty intense.
Yeah, it's also a very good way to meet new people for the first time. It's like, hey, I'm Jupe. Should we have the family violence and abuse workshop now?
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
I actually met one of my very good friends for the first time like that. I was playing abusive father.
Wow.
So,
yikes.
Well, I had fun abusing you all weekend. Want to hang out?
Yeah. One of the reasons that we decided to hang out afterwards was that we needed more debriefing.
So I think there's 4 categories of safety that Nordic LARPs use. And again, I'm speculating, so correct me if I'm wrong or if there's more. There's the post-game debriefs, which we talked about. Safe words.
Yes.
Phrases or hand signals that you can sort of stop the action and process. Calibration workshops, is that a thing? Okay.
That's a very Nordic LARP thing. It's not something that I do that much. Of my 115 games, there's been like, I would say 5 or 6 with something like that.
And then there's something called Ars Amandi.
Well,
yeah,
that's terrible. Ars Amandi is just one tool for simulating sexual intercourse in a game, and it's never been very widely used. It was a thing back in like 25 years ago, but it's it's just one of the simulative techniques that was used. As one of my good friends said, well, it didn't work for me in a LARP, but I can see it be used as like a way of foreplay.
Oh my god! So I wasn't able to find specifics in how Arsamandi works, but it seemed like it was an alternative to like massaging people. So
It's basically hand massage thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Does it involve eye contact, like really uncomfortable eye contact?
I would imagine so.
No, I laugh, but it actually sounds fascinating. I kind of like the idea.
It is. I have never tried it.
I couldn't help but feel like it was the kind of the idea of like massage as a replacement, even, which I suppose what Arsamandi is also. It feels like something that could be comfortable in like a circle of people, but to have that as someone you're like partnered up with at a event felt like a little bit difficult somehow.
Yeah, the massage thing is actually like a shoulder massage was a very typical way of simulating sex in LARPs back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But I have always, if the players don't feel comfortable like doing some, I would say like theater romantics, they should use like a black box. So just go there and discuss that what happened and then make appropriate noises for the crowd.
What is a black box, Ipe?
Black box is a technique that is used. It's basically just an empty room that you go and go through a situation by describing it. So just like role playing. It's this is done for sexual teams. It might be done for like some magical stuff or something that we don't have like an actual location for. So what happened during your jet fighter duel with the Russian pilot? But yeah, that's something that is very easy to use if you have limited space and resources, and something that is quite safe to use for situations that might otherwise be more awkward.
My research indicates that in Russia, LARP got there first. So in Russia, like when you talk about role playing, like the default is LARP rather than tabletop.
Yeah, I can see that.
Interesting.
I really don't have comments. I'm really not sure that Russian LARP actually, is counted as LARP because there's too many fatalities and real life situations.
I mean, yeah.
They are not as concerned about safety as the rest of us.
I guess that's a pretty rules light experience if you actually stab someone.
Or get hit by a metro.
Now, something that's interesting about Nudipunks is that it is 100% volunteer run.
Yep.
There's no paid staff at Nudipunks.
Yep.
Which is pretty great. And that my research says it has about 600 people annually.
Yeah,
30 different countries.
It's grown a lot. Like back when I was active, it was around 200 people, and the biggest one I was something like 800, I think.
Wow!
But I haven't been around that much any longer. But yeah, the strange thing is that the bigger it got, the more like academic it also got. So there is a lot of like game design and LARP design and whatever academics around.
Yeah, the description I read is that it's a lot of people staying up till 4 a.m. debating the proper techniques for simulating different immersion factors.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Which is not all that different from, like, say, Gen Con, because I would stay up till 4 a.m. playing Werewolf or something like that. So
yeah, Of course, back in the day when I was active, like the opening speech has lines like "Welcome you all, singles and swingers." So,
Oh wow!
thank you,
That's
Norway.
crazy.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago or so.
Something you mentioned earlier was that there's the Nudipunk anthologies, these books that are made every
Yeah,
year.
the annuals.
The annuals, thank you, and they've been published every year since 1999.
I don't remember what was the first year, but I think it was early 2000s.
Okay.
And they are also like things that when they announce next year's Nudipunk, there will be call for papers. And they will give you like the topics. And they might also have like different books. One year we had like Talk LARP, which was just more like people ranting about their favorite stuff. Then Do LARP, which was, theory of making LARPs. And then was Think LARP, which was more of the like academic things.
The academic side is what's really makes it fascinating, because outside of chess, there hasn't really been that level of documented intellectual discourse about a game for over 25 years, I would argue.
Yeah, and apart from LARPing, there is not many schools that teach by games.
Yeah, like I've been putting together a curriculum for next year because I'm teaching some kind of related stuff as an English class, and there's not a lot out there.
Yeah, I used to work in a boarding school in Denmark that teaches everything through LARPing and role-playing for 9th and 10th graders. I think there's 2 of them now, but back then it was only 1.
Interesting. Like, how does that work? Is that part of the...
It's well, if we go there, basically every week they have a team. For example, it might be the Second World War, and they are given the students are given a task about for making their characters. They are not very like history driven characters, but they will have like functions that I'm a soldier, my rank is this, my mission is this, that they will have some guidelines from the teachers. And after that they are given the possibility to roam the school and encounter the games that the teachers have pre-made for them. They might have like a schedule that when they are supposed to do what scene or what event, or they might do it like more organically or whatever. And the mini games or the events are stuffed. The teachers create them. They are like several different subjects in one context. You might have like a nighttime game where you go outside into the woods as paratroopers to destroy bridges and whatever in the Normandy situation during the D-Day or before the D-Day. And you have like navigation, you have different languages because you have to discuss with the resistance, and you have mathematics and physics when you are calculating how to destroy the bridge with your explosives and doing that in the dark with a flashlight with pen and paper. So it's based in the idea that immersion actually makes everything you learn stick into your brain better. And it helps you to learn like 100% of the time, because we know from the studies that when you are in a typical classroom, there is only like 15 minutes of each hour that you are ready to learn anything. And the whole like theoretic idea of the school was that they are trying to make the students learn 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what they learn, as long as they learn.
Interesting. Like we do like model UN, but that's
Yeah.
usually a 1-day session, anything like that, right?
That would be like 4 days, and most likely have some like background seeming and intrigue stuff. We
Right.
during the Second World War week, we had like this introduction to Cold War, where we as the teachers were playing Soviet spies and abducted like 20 students for water torture.
Jesus.
Oh,
So
Okay, so you remember how
at that
remember
point
how-
they were building barricades into the school, and
remember how Yuppie said that some of these LARPs are intentionally unfun, right?
yeah,
I guess that getting like water tortured is an immersive experience, though.
deep
Yeah.
and immersive.
Right.
No, I'm
yeah.
seriously though. There's one from 1998 called Ground Zero.
Yeah.
And the idea of Ground Zero is that all the players were put into a nuclear bunker during a simulated version of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And it forced them to process the fictional annihilation of the outside world with nowhere to escape to. The players didn't fight, they didn't solve any puzzles, they just sat there with the weight of nuclear annihilation. And I mean, that sounds amazing, but at the same time, like, that is like the real artistic significance of this tradition, is that it does put you in a position to role play something you would, in a way, you would never be able to do at your D&D table.
Yeah. And typical Nordic game masters are also masters of making stuff hard on your players. Like when we were doing, it was kind of World War II themed game, but it was set in Ravenloft. So the war had just gone on and on and on, and the famine that comes with war has gone for on and on and so forth. So I had my kitchen team make food that smelled delicious, but was basically just water and potatoes.
I see.
So and everyone, we had set the like dinner to be very late, so everyone would be hungry and it would smell delicious, and then they are served water and potato soup.
Wow.
And yeah, but we had better food later after the game. But yeah, and but that's actually, some of the people were so hungry and it smelled good, so they were like, oh, this is the best shit ever, and devoured their portions. And others were like, well, this is water and potatoes, this is terrible. And of course there was like we had a character that was pregnant, so people were trying to give her part of their portions, and she hated potatoes in real life. So
oh no,
really hard for her.
Oh,
but yeah, that's Nordic LARP designers are often like masters of setting the scene. And that's part of the like mastery of the art.
Now, Vera and I, we did an episode on the influence of RPGs a while back. And in that episode, we talked about how role-playing has been used as a psychological tool to help people process trauma or different conditions. And LARP is the same. Researchers in Germany have been running clinical studies using LARP as a component of cognitive behavioral therapy, specifically for participants with, or I should say patients, I'm not sure, with social anxiety, low self-esteem, and internet addiction.
Yep.
Which I find fascinating. And the 2024 peer-reviewed study found that LARPing had positive short-term mental health effects and may be a viable supplement to conventional therapy.
Yeah, I can see that. As you know, Ross, I'm working with children or young people under government custody, and I do use LARP at times in my work. So, yeah, I can sign up for that thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here's one. Go ahead, Vera.
Notice it has clear benefits for self-esteem, helping kids play out scenarios in a way that's controlled, because it's kind of a scripted scenario in part where they can put a pause on things and work through it. There are a ton of benefits. It makes sense it would work for one-on-one therapeutic purposes. It makes sense that it's seeing application for educational purposes more broadly. Like I've never even considered that, but yeah.
Well, it's something to think about for your game design class.
No, I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, Ross can give you my information so we can, pick our brains.
I would love that.
Yeah, about that. And one thing that I've done that is very simple and very eye-opening is that when we had like 7 teenagers in our unit, and then we had like 4 instructors or workers present, we did a role change or role switch. We wrote all the teenagers like a staff member character, and I wrote all the other my colleagues a teenage character, and we had like 3 hours when the kids were running our ward. We even gave them like a computer with no real access to our actual customer records or whatever, so they could write notes and whatever. And they had to run our daily schedule, and we were really, really, really messed up kids. Made it hard. It was like I think it was 3 minutes after the game started that I was sent to my room because I was so rude during dinner. And afterwards, like 15 minutes later, one of the teenagers playing a staff member brought me some food that, hey, you are also supposed to get food. And we had a very eye-opening debriefing session after this. And the kids told us that they never realized that it feels so bad to limit other people, to send them to their room and to be harsh and demand stuff of them that they don't want to do. And my colleagues became very aware that it also feels really bad when you are telling someone very strictly that what they are supposed to do because these are the rules. So it's a very good way of, being inside someone's skin for a moment. And I think many different institutions would benefit very much about, doing a role switch.
Yeah, it's a way to build that empathy and that insight. Rush 21129 says that third spaces and community are great for his mental health, or their mental health. I'm sorry, I assumed they're Rush. But yeah, that's a really interesting way to put it. And here's one that Vera's really going to like too. In last year, in Uppsala University in Sweden, is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Good. They received a big grant, around $3 million equivalent, to study how LARP can be used to train democratic participation and civic skills.
Oh, Swedes and their democracy. That's a a very very good grant, but we had this problem back in the day that our fellow Nordics, the Swedes, when we others were talking about objectivity, they were always saying democracy, and they are not the same thing. And they are very very adamant about everything being very very democratic instead of other things, and this kind of actually made them really hard participants in some workshops we did with the LARP school, or they were doing, because they turned everything around. No matter what we were discussing, it ended up being a discussion about democracy.
Well, I just love the idea
And
that
now
LARP.
they got like millions to do it still, and it's 20 years later.
I think it's great that they have something like this, a framework to talk about how to engage in democratic society. I think that's pretty great, honestly.
Yeah. We had some. I was like 15 years ago or something, part of this project that had called for LARPs for different educational needs or whatever, and we got some really good games about what the grant is for. The whole engaging in democratic society and whatever. This was also government sponsored, but we didn't have millions. We only had like tens of thousands, and we were giving the LARP designers money to produce at least a prototype of their game, or even the whole game, depending on what the worth was for us, the like board of the program. And it was actually run by the Ministry of Education, I think. Yeah. But we have had in the Nordic countries a very kind of a close relationship with several governments and universities and whatever, and the game design and LARP design and using LARP and gaming in general has been like acknowledged as a tool for anything for decades now.
Well, using it to teach civics is just, it's so appropriate, like doing a simulated tax day or something.
Yeah.
Also, welcome, readers. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Oh, we got some raiders. All right. Thank you, everybody from Twitch. Good to see you. Appreciate you guys.
I believe that would be Sotek rating in?
Probably. Hey, Sotek, thank you so much for rating in. I appreciate you. Something about Nordic LARP, though, that's really cool is that it can be very extreme. So one of the descriptions I read was that these LARPs can go for up to 7 days with no electricity, no modern sanitary facilities, no just tents and period accurate clothing and cookware, and even night raids, so you may not get a full night's sleep. And there's that's
more the Nordic buffer LARP thing.
So that's at the far end of what I think most hobbyists would consider. I mean, that's definitely extreme for most role players, I think, would be to think about a whole week of being that character in that environment.
The night raids are one of the reasons why I typically sleep with my boots on when I'm doing like a LARP like that. I actually managed to run into something very, very sharp in a dark forest without wearing any boots. So there is a scar on my left foot. It was very, very deep, and it bled quite a lot. But because I just poured some vodka in it and went back to sleep afterwards.
I have a question.
But yeah, these days I do sleep with my boots on.
I have a question for you, Pei, that's going to be a long story. So I want to make sure Vera gets a chance to talk about her experience LARPing. Would you like to tell that story?
I would love to hear a long story.
Oh, you want to hear? Okay, you want to hear Yuppei. Okay, so the thing I'm going to ask Yuppei about is a fairly. I don't know if you know about this, so I'm just going to say it out loud. Do you know about Valokari? No.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Finnish LARP called Valokari, and it was about a military simulation. Are you familiar with this one? Okay, I'll say what I found out in my research.
Okay.
It was meant to be a claustrophobic game full of interpersonal conflict, but there was a miscommunication that led everyone to treat it as a hyper-realistic military simulation instead. The characters.
Can you send me the name of the game?
Okay.
Or some
will.
media. So
I will. Yeah, because I'm probably butchering the pronunciation.
Yes, this time typically your Finnish is really good, but
oh wow,
better than my English. So,
but the core of the thing was that they were scripted. They had characters who were scripted to annoy each other. They had characters that were supposed to like be in conflict, but they never clashed because they spent all their time patrolling and eating and sleeping in rotation, and it became this authentic portrayal of military tedium rather than a deep and immersive social engagement. Does that ring any bells?
Not so much, but that's very typical thing to happen.
Okay. All right. I thought that was it was one of those examples of a LARP becoming way more realistic than they intended it to be.
Well, I'd imagine those like character parameters still played out just under the tension of needing to do a job all day. Like,
yeah, but that's I would say that if I was planning a LARP like that, Finnish people are really bad crowd for this because it's like, well, we have a duty to perform. We'll do that personal stuff later.
It's very Finnish to not talk to people.
Yeah, so and, giving us a reason to avoid talking to people even in a LARP it's a bad idea. Always force us to talk.
That idea of having like in-character responsibility seems to show up in a few LARPs of this style. Though, like one that I've been interested in for a while is this upcoming Disco Elysium LARP set in Czech Republic, and that's going to be. I know, yeah, but that's going to be
going there.
It's going to be Disco Elysium style though, and there's a 2-hour block per day of doing some kind of job, like making the camp run because it's 5 days.
Yeah, I think I've stood in attention for 6 hours at some point when I was guarding someplace in a LARP. So yeah, we. Sometimes the tasks that we end up doing are kind of extreme and not really realistic because we lack people. The typical balance of like servant and grunt level soldiers in old fantasy games was very, very, unrealistic. It was more like having 7 generals and admirals and whatever and 2 servants instead of the other way around. So the people are really overworked when they have these tasks. I hope they are doing these things better these days. My games, when they have like a class structure or whatever, tend to have like 20 servants for the 2 nobles or whatever, or a reason why there are only so few. And that reason usually also dictates that the nobles should serve themselves during meals. But yeah, and we have toyed around about having like work camp LARPs where you really do some shoveling or cutting wood or that kind of things. And there's been LARPs where you actually have to build stuff from just everyday items to like actual buildings. So
now, something that can happen a lot and has happened in the UK specifically is that the police can be called because LARPing can be very realistic in the way that it appears to an outsider. There's a city called Devon in the UK where apparently there was a fantasy boffer LARP going on, and somebody reported a gang war to the police. So they showed up with helicopters and patrol cars and riot gear, and they were just like, "What? Why are all these people wearing elf ears and hitting each other with foam swords?"
yeah, that's the Monty Python version of police raid in a LARP. Most of our encounters with police have had to do with airsoft weapons, so they have been a bit more serious. There's this. I think it was like 96, just year before I started, that there was a cyberpunk game in a small city in Finland. And one of the players had been very immersed and had broken into a car and went to sleep off his character's drunkenness or whatever in there. And someone called the police. And 2 officers came and knocked on it was something like a youth club or whatever door, and the person who saw them through like the door's window or whatever was also very immersed and ran deeper inside yelling, "The police are here." And everyone is like, "Great, the game masters have NPC police." And they run outside with replica firearms, assault rifles and whatever. And yeah, well, there is a reason why there is now legislation that doesn't allow you having replica weapons out in the open, because the police almost shot themselves because that's not something that happens in Finland.
Speaking of things that go
there was
wrong,
20 people with assault weapons.
Speaking of things that go wrong at LARPs, in the Nordic tradition, what's really interesting is that the detailed post-game write-ups that usually come from these things do include honest accounts of what went wrong.
Yep.
There was a 2024 article titled "This LARP Sucked and Everyone Should Read About It," which I thought was great. And this tradition is great because it publicly examines failures. And I think there's just something wonderfully Scandinavian about treating our event was a disaster as important peer-reviewed literature.
Well, I feel like something like that is what enables you to have these journals about the theory behind it, the game design, because they have record. There are so few records of individual tabletop campaigns outside of, I guess, ones that are streamed live now. We have that, but
yeah, and in our conventions, these topics like things we did wrong are really, really popular. So there typically is at least one either like just a lecture or like panel in every convention about stuff we have failed in. I think encounters with police would actually like constitute one of them.
Have you heard of a LARP called Mad About the Boy?
Yes.
Can you describe that one for Vera, please?
I'm not the right person to do it. I haven't participated in it, but yeah.
Okay. So this is it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where all the men have died, according to my research.
Yeah.
Except for one. So the organizers, they scripted all these different possible dramatic outcomes depending on how players treated the last man when he arrived, which was a big deal. Like the last man is arriving at the LARP. And in one of the Norwegian versions, they had built up this very tense, anticipatory atmosphere for the arrival of the last man, the singular male character. And when he finally shows up, according to the thing I read, all of the women responded by offering him tea and blankets. And it was just this really sweet, very friendly, warm gesture that completely deflated all the drama.
Sometimes human nature is okay.
Right? I think that's
Yep.
I find it wholesome, which I really liked. But
Well, the plot sounds like a gender inversion of the movie Crimes of the Future, which is
oh yeah, that one.
yeah, which is the last like girl. She's a child, and that's a dark film. So
That's a
Yeah.
Cronenberg, isn't it?
yeah, who also made another movie also called Crimes of the Future about something entirely different, no relation whatsoever, but both called the same thing.
Weird. Huh.
Very
Yeah.
weird.
That's Cronenberg for you. So yeah, that's what I thought was great. There's another great story here I think you'll enjoy. It's called The Accidental God. And this is a vampire LARP story. And the basic idea is that there's a first-time LARPer was asked to be an NPC by one of the storytellers. And he said, just watch what happens, don't get killed. And everybody's like, okay. Now the storyteller was he was frustrated by a lot of cheating that had occurred in previous sessions of the LARP. So he secretly made this character an all-powerful being called an Incarna, which, if you're familiar with vampire or werewolf, you'll know what Incarnas are. And so you had this brand new player who has no idea what an Incarna is, or even like this is his first LARP ever. And the rule that he had for being an Incarna is he won all ties of rock, paper, scissors. If it was a tie, he won. And so he was just wandering around asking people all these innocent questions about werewolf lore. And he said he was mostly ignored. But one person who actually challenged him had this very slow dawning realization of horror in that he was picking a fight with some kind of unchallengeable divine entity. He says, I will never forget the realization on this guy's face of just like, oh shit, you win all ties. Oh shit. and you Vera, you've been to a vampire LARP. Would you agree there's a lot of very pretentious people at vampire LARPs?
There is a certain energy.
a vibe. There's a vibe. So I love the idea of like bringing in just like a rank newbie and be like, you win all ties. Now go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
the poor, all the politickers and the guys jockeying for position are like, oh, let's pick on the newbie. Oh God, why?
Someone both clueless and invincible is a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah. And that might generate quite interesting narratives in the game. LARP is also to have the tendency to take stuff they hear during a game and make it real. I think it was back in '98 when I was in this like 300 people cyberpunk game, and it was set in a space station. I was part of a corporate agent group that had infiltrated mafia. And in like a random firefight, all my corporate contacts died. So we were now cut off. No one knew that we were actually members of this corporation inside a mafia outfit. So, okay, we become mafia members. And of course, because it's LARP, there is like infighting, and we end up being cast out from the mob. So I have no contacts, I have no job. So what do? I start selling information that I just make up. There is, I was telling everyone that, I used to work for that corporation. We are doing like biological research in that section that is, closed down. And I sold tons of shit about some like biological warfare stuff that we were doing there, and it ended up with like 7 people dying from a disease that didn't exist.
Wow.
And the game masters were in the game debriefing. They were asking, "What a fucking disease! There were mutants. There was no disease." But yeah,
You
seven,
start the
seven,
plague.
yeah, 7 LARPers died of a plague that I made up.
Well, the characters died.
Yeah.
Not the players.
Yeah, most likely not. Yeah. No, it might have been like ground zero for COVID, but 20 years earlier.
Oh no.
Now, there's a fun detail that Juppe taught me when I was in Finland, and we were talking about LARPing and what people do to stay awake. And one of the things he told me about was this type of chocolate. It's called Choco chocolate, I think. And it's chocolate that is stuffed full of caffeine. Coca-Cola, yeah, thank you. Yeah. And it's basically little pieces of chocolate that you eat, and if you eat the piece of chocolate, it's like drinking like 10 Monster drinks. It's just your body gets full of caffeine really quick. Which is actually Finnish. It's part of the Finnish tradition of getting super high and doing shit all night. Which there's a famous story about a guy in World War II who took a whole shitload of methamphetamines and skied around and like absolutely destroyed a whole bunch of soldiers on skis. It was pretty crazy. You should have looked that one up.
I've heard of this. I've heard of this.
Yeah, there is a really good story about a really good YouTube story about the meth skier.
But the LARPers would take this chocolate and stay up all night.
Yeah. Well, I think that still happens. Don't know if Coca-Cola is still the drug of choice, but it might be just regular monsters or something like that. But yeah, it's I think it's more of an age thing because it's cool for stay up all night when you're younger. Me, for this age reason, I tend to have like 8-hour games and get to home early to sleep in my own bed.
Yep.
So no more weekenders for me if I can avoid them, or night raids. But yeah, Coca-Cola is really good stuff. It's a German chocolate, actually.
Right. I did try it, and it was amazing.
I'm curious now.
It's like drinking a Monster, but it's a little piece of chocolate. And I was like, whoa! I was like Cornelio for a little while there. I was just running around, a little crazy person.
Yeah, I think that like fandom has an inclination toward that, though. I know that 5-hour energies and so on are popular in like the MMO communities and so on. You can see them in anime cons and stuff. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, back in the 90s, we were just using like caffeine pills. It was very typical hobby among us to turn gray and start, having like epilepsy.
Oh my God.
Oh
during
boy.
Conventions. It's like, someone who just, went over the limit of caffeine pills.
What questions do you have, Vera, about Nordic LARP?
I'm curious, like how it's organized. I suppose you have mailing lists, you have, I guess, web groups now, but there's a lineage there, right?
Yeah, when I started, there was this LARPaja, aka LARPer magazine that was published 4 times a year that had the national LARP calendar, and you either signed up by phone or by letter. I actually have like couple of hundred sign-up letters from my players from the 90s still at my archives. So
so you'd post about an upcoming game that you were hosting in the magazine, and you get letters about it?
Yeah, that was the way I started. After that, websites, we had a strong national organization back then, so they just switched the LARP calendar from the magazine to a website. And nowadays it's harder. We don't have like a common meeting place online anymore. There used to be like a couple of thousand people in a Facebook group, but people have migrated away from Facebook. So we have like 24 Discord groups and 20 Facebook groups and whatever. So actually advertising for LARPs is now for me harder than it ever was before. So I typically could get players quite easily for my games, but now it actually needs work. And since I do everything volunteer based, I'm not going to hire like a publicist for my games.
Yeah, that seems challenging.
Yeah, and it seems to be it's almost easier to start an international event because you get a lot of players from different countries if you have like a high quality game coming up, and those circles they still spread the news very fast. The grapevine is working really well, and I think the way social media is now, it's made the scene very fractured again. It's almost like in like late 90s when every little city had their own LARP group and they didn't advertise their games outside because they didn't need to. They just the same players would show up every weekend.
Now, I want to participate in a Nordic LARP. Mostly just for the bragging rights. I want to get a T-shirt that says "I survived Nordic LARP." I survived.
There's no surviving Nordic LARPs.
It changes you, right? Like you are no longer the person you were when you walked into that LARP.
Yeah, it's like the Mythos skill in Cthulhu role playing. If you get the 1%, it's forever taken away from your sanity. So don't open the Nordic LARP skill.
Have you heard of a LARP called Capo?
Capo, yeah.
Can you tell us that story?
The concentration camp LARP.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. This is the Danish deep end.
The date you say this is Danish?
Yeah, I think the original game was Danish, if it's the same game that I'm talking. But yeah, it's basically a game about a concentration camp or prison or something like that, where you have the couples, like trustees and informants and whatever. And you can imagine how the dynamics work in a place where people are, sent to die, and you are the person who is trying to do everything they can to not die by, being very, very nasty person to others. So yeah, I never participated, and I'm sure that someone that has been in one of the couples would do a much better work explaining it. But yeah, it's one of those things, the games that are between type 2 and type 3 fun.
Now, I read that Capo specifically became a flashpoint for debates where the ethical limits lie in LARP design.
Yeah, the Danes had a period in their Nordic LARP where they did a lot of controversial games, and Capo was one of them. They also had a game where they gave some of the players total control over the schedules of others. So they could say that now we sleep, now we eat, now we eat again, now we eat again, now we work, now we sleep, yeah, and whatever. So they could have total control over other players, and typically at some point they switched the control to others, and those who had been abused by the system earlier were even more terrible to the
Well,
players.
that's just the Stanford prison experiment.
Yes,
They're recreating
yeah.
this nightmare to.
Yes, it's the Stanford prison experience is what it was based on.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
On purpose?
Yeah, and this is the stuff that we do for fun.
Yeah, I want to point out. We've talked about a lot of heavy stuff, and we talked about a lot of scholarly stuff. But LARPs and Nordic LARPs, they are fun. They are intended to be an experience that you walk away from going, that was valuable. I learned something. Maybe I didn't enjoy myself, but I learned something about myself. I learned something about human nature. I learned something about people. I have become transformed, like I said earlier, about what it would be like. So, if you walk away from this episode thinking, wow, Nordic LARP sucks and I never want to do it, please don't, because it is actually pretty great. It's a very different approach to role-playing than we are used to talking about on this channel, because we almost always focus on the tabletop experience. And I thought it would be good to talk about LARPing, and specifically this style, because it's so different.
Yeah, and it's if you participate in a Nordic LARP, it's you have to have like the expectation management worked on, because if you just go there waiting for another buffer LARP or typical parlor LARP, you are going to need a sock puppet and to show where the LARP touched you in a bad way. That's
show me on the doll where the LARP touched you.
Yeah,
wow.
the Nordic LARP has that effect on people, and the people who go to these couple style games, they do it voluntarily, and they know what they are typically know what they are going to be experiencing. Not always. That was one of the points in these discussions about what's ethical in LARP design, what is not. Because if you don't tell people, then it's actually going to be the Stanford prison experiment. Yeah. And it's been debated for years that how much should we actually discuss the LARP experience beforehand. Some people go so far that they want to have access to every character before game, and that's actually very, very Nordic, especially Swedish thing, or was at some point. That all the games were like public domain, and even before the game, so there was no real secrets if you didn't want there to be. And yeah, I've never understood that. I don't want to know everything about the game. I just want to know what my character knows.
The joy of discovery, right?
Yes, and also the immersion. It's easier for me to be immersive if I don't know stuff I'm not supposed to know. I can edit stuff away, but it's not the same. Also, it's very Nordic to like when you are planning for the game with your contact players, that you can actually set up scenes that, hey, let's do a fist fight because of this. At some point, you will say these things to me and I will get angry and we will fight. That's also not something that I really like to do. I can do that. There is a chance that our characters might end up fighting. Do you want to go over you like security stuff with me? How much physical contact do we want to have? So can you hit me a bit harder than that, please? Yeah, I'm kind of notorious for shouting off game "hit harder" during games because I want to know where I'm hit.
I
You're
see.
not. I'm not a masochist. I just want to know where I'm being hit.
Yeah, yeah. If I can't feel it, it's not a hit. But
I
yeah,
can see,
yeah. Please do say.
I can see why having a little more idea what's going to happen beforehand could be a source of comfort, though. If you're going to sign up for a weekend in a prison camp, maybe it'd make you feel
Yeah,
better to have some vision of the situation beforehand, right?
yeah. But of course, in a LARP, you can just walk away. You typically don't have actually locked doors or so forth. You always can go off game and get away
Mhm.
from a situation.
That's
So
the.
it's
Is that also the function of a black box? Like, could we go into the black box to get away, or would that be not appropriate?
yeah, that would be. Uh, well, you could use a black box to say that at the current time, this torture chamber is a bit too much for me. Can we do this scene in the black
Ah,
box?
there we go.
If you just want to get away, then you just you don't have to even ask anything. You just go to the off-game location. At least in most games, you typically need to have a place set up for people who are not in game.
So,
But
Vera,
yeah,
would you play a Nordic LARP?
Some of these possibly, maybe not others.
Well, I gotta admit, it's definitely weird, and it's definitely out there, and it's definitely at the edge of my comfort zone. But that's kind of the reason why I want to try it, is to see like if this is something that I'm just denying myself like the opportunity to experience. Like the idea of being trapped on a ship and waking up covered in jelly. At first I was like, that is so bizarre, I would never even think about it. And then like over time I was like, no, that actually sounds like it would be really interesting and really fun, and uh so
yeah,
different than anything I've
that's
done
how we
before.
get you. It's
Yeah. Well, it's because I trust you pay more. I think if it was just a stranger saying, "Hey, let's all get naked and wrap ourselves in jelly," I'd be like, no thanks. But if you pay, I trust you pay very very much. So if you pay was like, trust me, it'll be cool, we'll have a great time, I'll be like, you might be able to talk me into that.
yeah, uh, yeah. And just naked or on your underwear and covered in jelly isn't that bad. You could be hanging upside down from the ceiling or
Mickey Stopwatch says, "Well, I'm sold."
Yeah, that sounds pretty great.
Good one.
people beating you up with sticks while you're hanging upside down from the ceiling. And
So it's kind of
Perfect.
I would say the analogy here is that Nordic LARP is kind of the extreme sports of tabletop role playing games. They're for people who want that deeper or more impactful experience.
yeah, in like musical terms, we are the really strange progressive and psych rock from the early 70s.
Yeah, the place that'd give me pause is LARP settings that are reenactments of like historical trauma. We see that in the States sometimes. There are museums, for example, that produce reenactments of like life under slavery. People are put in chains and made to work for usually no more than an afternoon, but in conditions that are meant to help relate to the experience at the time, right? You see stuff like that. I think also to certain infamous Halloween haunt productions where people walk through to get like scared around the holidays. But there are a few like this. I'm not going to say the name because they're litigious, but that have been accused of just abusing people because the scenarios are kind of brutal and harsh and do like lasting damage, like they shave people's heads and things.
That would not be lasting damage for me, just to be clear.
But I would say that neither of those constructions is something that's like got a scene around it. These are less deliberate things, right? They're more either intended to be like psychological terror or to have that experience of like walking in someone else's shoes as a one-off, whereas the LARP scene, I assume, is a lot of people who are really immersed in it, who care about many events in their area, who like look for this kind of experience in particular, right?
Yeah.
I imagine it's a bonding experience, like the community that from the visits that I've had to Finland, the LARP community is very tightly knit. There's a lot of, you come out of a LARP feeling a closer bond. Like Yupe was saying, he's ended up dating people from his LARPs. So I don't know. I feel like that's probably a case. Like the community really comes together.
Yeah, it is. And in historical games, there is a lot of debate about the things that we are supposed to include in them. And there is different schools of opinion about if you are supposed to like realistically simulate different terrible things from the past, or should we, avoid using them. We are in that situation at the moment. I'm of course, as a former historian, always thinking that we should talk about all these things and include them in the games, and also tell people why we are including them in the games. If we are having slavery, we need to be clear about the reasons that we are having. It's not because we want some people to be abused in the game. We are telling a story of an unfree person and people around them.
Yeah, I know that White Wolf has also had controversy for its historical settings and like their attempts to include like classically in the Dark Ages books, there were a lot of references to like inequality with women, because of course it was not an era where women were really meant to be part of the public world. And I guess the consideration behind how you include that differs when it's a game that's specifically trying to interrogate and explore those dynamics, like the challenges at these times, as opposed to like a power fantasy kind of experience.
Yeah, that's also one thing that needs to be made very open, that this is exploring that time and that cultural structure, instead of just writing abused and lower class people to a buffer LARP that you are not supposed to take part in the adventure, you are here to serve me. That's not okay. Well, some people actually wish for those characters.
Yeah, no kink shaming on this show. No kink shaming.
Yeah, indeed. There is actually a trope we call the fisherman's wife, that is means a female character with no agency at all. And it was kind of typical in the late 90s games still, that so some of the female characters were more there to just hang around their important male characters. But yeah, I never understood that myself.
Well, roles like that can be written in sometimes. Like there are cases I can imagine where someone wants to go with their significant other and they want to be there, but they don't really know what's going to happen, are more excited for the fancy dress than for the ambiguous nature of the thing.
Yeah, that is something that happens still. I know, of course, you have like babies and small children that are running around the games these days, dressed up and calling their parents with their real names and whatever. So,
Aw.
Babies are the best LARPers. The smaller kids, not so much.
Babies are never not in character.
Yeah, they are always in character.
He'll be playing the part of baby.
We actually had like a 9-year-old playing princess and the sister to a young king who was just being coronated. And she realized that because she's sister to the king, she can make all the characters do whatever she wants.
Oh.
So we had like evil priests and knights who belong to the cult of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse playing children's games with a 9-year-old.
No, that is a wholesome moment I did not expect.
I bet she had a great time. It's great because it's like it's it's believable, right?
Yeah, because we told her that if someone doesn't obey you, then you go to your brother, and then they will obey you.
Nice.
So,
now, Yuppie, I think you have an opportunity you've rarely had. You are speaking to an audience, not a huge audience, but you speak to a big audience, and this is a chance for you to tell one of your best LARP stories from Finnish LARP. So please think of one that you would like to present. You don't have to do it right away, but I wanted to give you that chance because this is your time. This is your stage.
Oh God. That's a. This is like getting an unlimited wish in D&D.
Oh man, it's like going to a convention. It's saying, "Tell me about your character" to a random gamer. No pressure, buddy. No pressure, says Ice Veins.
Yeah.
We can give you a minute to think if you like. That's no problem.
I'm not sure if a minute is going to cut it, but
well, I was gonna ask Vera, like, what does she think about, Nordic LARP as opposed to American LARP, as opposed to tabletop? Like, what are your takeaways from this episode?
My takeaway is that Nordic LARP is a style of play that really tries to tease out internal dynamics, like the internal world. And I think that's something that surfaces during tabletop play and less so during Boffer LARP or a lot of groups that are more focused on, having some beers and hanging out at the table. Like improv and the act of improv is often a more timing-based kind of wink and nod style of channeling a character. And that for many is the heart of their D&D style. Like there's like something inherently kind of fun and upbeat about it. By taking away the humor inherent to the setting, which it seems like it's characteristic of a lot of these scenarios, you invite a kind of engagement that is perhaps more genuine, more internal and more considered, especially when you're asked to take a back seat to some of the proceedings, to have your own motivations of success placed behind this desire to see the world move forward in importance. Like there's a lot here that contributes to that kind of nuanced and internal perspective for your character. It's just, it's a different ethos, I think, to other styles of play you see in like role-playing games, right?
Well, you made a really great point when you talked about most tabletop games are power fantasies, and they absolutely are, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love a good power fantasy, but that is, I think you're accurate when you say that is kind of like the core of a typical tabletop gaming session. And nowadays you see a lot of people, fans of Critical Role and other live action plays that have these really deep stories, a lot of great character development. And there's people out there who are like, I'm looking for something. I need an experience that's closer to that ideal than what I'm getting at my table. And a lot of people are looking for different systems, looking for different genres to try and find that thing that they're seeking. And I would say if you're out there and you're like thinking, man, I would love to try something that's a little different from D&D, LARPing is worth your time. even if it's a bad experience, even if you go out there and are like, man, this sucked, at least you tried it. At least you were, you put yourself out there. It is an act of courage to be vulnerable in a way that LARPs can make you vulnerable, because you are out there. You don't have your character sheet. You don't have your, you don't have something to hide behind. You are literally there being that character around other people being their characters. So there's something special about that, and I do encourage people to try it.
Yeah.
Are you ready to tell your story?
Well, I will tell a story about a meaningful thing in a LARP, because I think the most meaningful part of LARPing for me is when you really, really sync up with a contact player and you have the 360-degree illusion together. This was a game called Sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
It was a game about high school kids having a party, and I was playing this like a football player, a simple guy, kind of a ladies' man, but trying to find a real connection with someone. And he had found a girl, at least he thought so, from the internet, and he was being catfished.
Oh no!
Yeah. Or so forth. It happened to be a gay guy from his high school, and that had pretended to be a girl in a chat room. And I was doing my best to find this mystery girl because she has promised to be in that party. And I had like a list of players that might be them. And in the end, I'm being confronted by the player of that gay kid about that he is actually the girl I'm looking for. And we have a very, very intense like stare down. And he's like, well, are you going to punch me? And for some reason, at that moment, I had the feeling that my character, who would most likely be homophobic in most situations, was of a mind that the connection that he had with this boy was actually more meaningful than anything he had with the girls. So my really, really heterosexual jog is like, well, I couldn't ever hit you. And we end up slow dancing in the center of the room with all the other guys from my football team shouting not so nice things about us. And when the first fucking gays or whatever comes up, at the very same moment, our arms just go like this, and we give the guy a finger at the same time. And we never break eye contact with each other, and we end up kissing in the dance floor with all of the school kids staring at us. They're like the straightest guy in the school and the kind of openly gay punk rock guy. But yeah, the player is actually a really good friend of mine, and but that was, I think, the first time we played really close contact. And of course, we didn't have the opportunity to plan anything ahead or even go through our limits, because it was a secret crush and being catfished and whatever. So it had to do with just the level of immersion and how the game actually allowed us to sync up. And it's one of the most powerful scenes I've had in a LARP. There's a couple of the like same type, but that was, I think, the first one of them, and the one that included no planning beforehand.
Yeah, I feel like romance in role-playing games is often something that is either the domain of people who are like role-playing their real-world relationship because haha we can, or something that's sort of dressing for the character more so than something that's investigated internally, like really played out in that kind of way. It's rare to see in like most tabletop campaigns I've been a part of, at least.
Well, sometimes for good reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes for very good reason, it's avoided at the table. I will say that.
But it makes sense to me that the more internal focus that Nordic LARP has would open itself up to that kind of scene, which it can be meaningful. Yeah.
I can't help but imagine the betrayal you must have felt finding out about the catfishing.
Yeah. Especially since I've been driving the thing, finding that girl for the whole game, and then she turns out to be he. And that for me as a person isn't a problem, but for my character it was a huge problem, and for my very straight friends it was also a huge problem. So yeah, it was but the intensity of that feeling that this person connects with me was very, very strong. And after that dance scene, we had like a long conversation about the gay boy, really, really trying to make me understand what it would mean for my character to be in this relationship, because he of course knew that I'm part of a very homophobic environment and so forth. And we ended up in like a situation that my character admitted that I don't know if this is going to work, but I think I can't be okay with a straight dude just being in a relationship with a man. So, because this is bigger than all the other feelings my character had ever had before. But yeah, that's also a very typical Nordic thing to LARP. Romance and sexuality and gender roles are very typical topics.
And Nordic LARP does not try to eliminate the bleed. Nordic LARP is like, we need to, it's a powerful tool. You need to design it. You need to manage it.
Yeah.
According to my research, there's actually 3 different types of bleed, according to studies on Nordic LARPs, which there are many.
Yes.
And the 3 types of bleed, there's emotional bleed, which is a feeling, feeling what your character feels. Grief, joy, fear as a genuine personal emotion. Then there's procedural bleed, which is like I continue to think or act like my character after the game is over. And then there's mimetic bleed, which is like I'm going to consciously adopt. I'm going to consciously adopt my character's worldview or opinions on things. And it sounds, as a kid who grew up watching Mazes and Monsters, it sounds very dangerous, but I can see the value in studying it. And I can definitely see the value in like learning to understand what it is, why it happens, and how to manage it.
Yeah.
Now, I think even at tabletop, you have some bleed. There's a very famous scene in a movie where a character says, "I've played Dungeons and Dragons for 20 years. I've learned a little something about courage." And I've always loved that line. I was like, "Oh, that actually that tracks to me." I feel like I've learned a lot about myself through role playing at a table, playing Dungeons and Dragons. But I think that bleed is far more subtle and far more well, it's certainly more obscure, and very few people are studying it in the tabletop space, I would say.
Yeah, it should be studied more.
I think so. I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, the concept of immersion is definitely a thing. People play horror games and become genuinely scared. They can become quite upset by this. People cry playing games, of course. People have this kind of response to art in a lot of cases, but the whole conceit of Nordic LARP seems to lend itself to that kind of immersion, that kind of experience really affecting you. And frankly, for some of the subject matter, you should probably be upset by it.
I think we should do a whole episode on horror and role-playing games. I think that'd be a lot of fun to talk about, because
we can do that.
That's something I've studied a lot. And I should say, this is actually a good point to say, if you have enjoyed us doing this deep dive into types of role-playing, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button so you can help us spread our madness to other unsuspecting minds through the algorithm. We really appreciate you. Now, we're getting close to the end of the show here, so this is probably a good time to start summing up our thoughts about Nordic LARP. Who would like to go first? All right.
I sort of summed mine a moment ago.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, Yupe, what are your summary or your final thoughts about Nordic LARP and whether people should try it or not?
Well, to even sum it up would still take like 9 more hours, but we haven't even started yet. It's a good place to be if you really want to have the opportunity to be someone else, immerse with that elseness, that otherness, and to expand like your emotional experiences. It's also a good place to be when you want to push yourself. Yeah, and it's not for everyone. If you just want to fight orcs and win games, then you have the Puffer LARPs and the parlor games and whatever. But if you search for the immersion and the 360-degree illusion, then it's your place to be. And we are waiting here in the dark. We might have cake, or it might be a lie, but join us and you can find out.
Come to the dark side. We have cake.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
or possibly it's jelly and waking up naked in a room.
We definitely have jelly. that's not a lie.
Oh my god.
The cake might be a Finnish version of a cake and not so delicious. So
did you guys not use sugar?
Our cuisine, it's not the most delicious one in the world. Danes are much better with cake, and they have couple.
It's true. I've tried some Finnish desserts. They have a particular flavor, which is essentially pine tar flavored candy.
Oh.
Pine tar flavored candy and pine tar flavored ice cream, in fact. And I tried it when I visited, and it tasted like licking the underside of a diesel engine. I do not recommend it.
Yeah, the other taste we have is called ethanol. So,
yeah, what's that? What's that one like?
Yeah, the one thing that comes out of the distillation rig. Ethanol, alcohol.
Oh, ethanol. Yeah. Corn syrup, but not really.
A little more distilled.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So what I think, what else would you like to cover here today about LARPing? Do we want to talk about any LARP experiences that we've had? I can tell you more about mine, or you can tell us more about yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear just more about the scene itself. Like, I feel like White Wolf LARP is so alien for this kind of structure, you know?
Yeah.
We have done a lot of different like tabletop game adaptations. I started with a LARP that, or my first LARP, big LARP as a game master, was set in Chlorantha.
Ah,
Hmm.
RuneQuest. We have an episode on that. Yes.
Yeah, so and of course I have done Master, I have done Cyberpunk, Traveler 2300 AD, Call of Cthulhu, Shadowrun, Nightlife.
Oh, that's a deep cut there. Nightlife. I remember that one.
Yeah, that's my go-to game for vampire-like games, and yeah, of course I have done a lot of World of Darkness. Yeah, and in Finland, there's been Deadlands games, Warhammer, both fantasy and 40k, Star Wars. I haven't heard of Star Trek though, but yeah, and yeah, those are games that would actually require an episode of their own, because it's very different to cater for people who actually know what they are expecting, because even before the current customer attitude that the players have, the fans have expectations, and they have very little of expectation management.
Yeah, like one challenge in running a game with a really well-developed setting like Warhammer is how to keep people on the same page about what that setting is like, especially if you have newer players who are less immersed in the history of it or the lore and might have different expectations or manifest things differently at the table. I guess that matters a lot more in a situation where the immersion is the whole thing.
Yeah.
I imagine there's a lot of benefits to LARPing if you are a tabletop gamer. One of the local celebrities we have here in Denver is Ginny D, who has a very large YouTube show about Dungeons and Dragons. And she's been very open about how she started out at Renaissance fairs and doing LARPing, and how those things have helped her come up with ways to help immerse her players at the table.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value to that.
I've always said that LARPers turn out to be really good tabletop gamers,
Yeah.
but it's not always the other way around. Because they have the grasp for the character immersion, and they don't care about, nitpicking about the rules so much.
Yeah, and it'll always serve you well to have an idea about your character's internal world in a role-playing game, even if the game itself is kind of goofy in tone. The same can't be said for bringing that desire to win and to optimize into a scenario that's more narratively based. So,
Yes, just that.
Yeah, I think if you're at all curious about LARPing, one of the easiest ways to try it out in a very low stakes environment is, especially if you're in the United States, Renaissance fairs.
Yeah.
Almost every state has one, and they're generally not very expensive, and they're generally pretty good time, even if you just show up very casually in your t-shirt and jeans. But
Yeah.
if you are at all a person who loves to show off their cosplay skills, then LARPing is a really, really good environment to show off those damn skills.
Yeah, the days when we used to have towels for cloaks is far gone.
yeah, I've seen a few sites that specialize in period equipment and such for I assume it's intended primarily for boffer scenarios, but you could wear it in any kind of knightly or historical setting.
Yeah. There are many people who use like thousands and thousands of euros or dollars for their kit. And then there is me, who has been LARPing for 30 years, and I hardly own pants and a tunic.
I would say the thing that I took away from my experience LARPing was a boost to my self-confidence. It was, I had this feeling when I showed up, and I showed up in costume. I went makeup and I had a cloak and everything. Like I wouldn't say I went like 150%, but for me, it was a pretty drastic step from, gaming around a table in my t-shirt and jeans to showing up with actual makeup and a cloak, to try to represent my character. And I found myself terrified of being judged.
Mhm.
Like I was just like, oh, everybody's going to look at me and go, look at this noob trying to be, one of us. And when I started playing, that fear just dissolved. Like and that shift carried over to my everyday life too. Like I realized that the community aspect of gaming will protect you to some extent. Like everyone's there to have a good time, and everyone's there to be part of that world, and everyone's there to immerse themselves. And as long as you're genuinely giving effort towards that, I found that reflected back at me. People were like, okay, we're happy you're here. We're happy you're participating. I think it's a bit like going to the gym when you're a big person like myself, and you're like, oh, everybody's going to judge me for being fat. When in fact, most of the people in the gym are like, man, good for you. Good for you for showing up,
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I went to my first LARP back in '97, that was the first time I actually felt accepted anywhere.
Aw.
There's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of belonging in a LARP.
Yeah, and I still hang out with many of those people from 30 years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, I often say that role-playing games are a great place to make friends, and LARP is a more extended, intensive experience. It's yeah, that's awesome. I believe the Laws also met at the LARP, actually, Andy and Lindsay.
Oh, did they? Oh, well, we should have invited them. Damn. I had no idea. Okay. That's funny.
If I recall correctly, they first met at the Vampire LARP, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to advertise LARPing like that for tabletop gamers, that when you go to your basement for some D&D, you will meet the same 5 smelly guys every weekend. And when you come to a LARP, there is 150 of us, and half of them will be women. So that was teenage boys selling LARPing to other teenage boys. We were lying, only like 20% of the players used to be women back at that time. Now it's like the other way around.
I can confirm that in the 90s, if you wanted to meet women who were into gaming, Vampire LARP is where it was at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these were, typically these were women who were not afraid to show up and look really good. Like the costuming aspect of it was part of it. Like, you're not just going to go and see, women that are wearing t-shirts and jeans. You're going to go see women who are in like really awesome costumes and dresses and corsets and whatnots. And that makes a difference. Like that was like, okay, this is people of my tribe.
You got a problem with t-shirts and jeans, huh?
No. Nothing wrong with it, but it does. There's a barrier that's removed when you realize that they're into very similar things to yourself.
Yes.
And the costuming aspect kind of got that across to me in a way that thinking about it or just hearing about it didn't,
Yeah, for me it was the 150 people, everyone having like full skin paint because we were goblins and orcs. Yeah, I've done my share of being painted green.
Well, I want to say on behalf of Lorebeards Roleplay, thank you so much for showing up today, Jupe. It was really great to hear from you and get that perspective on what Nordic LARP is really like from someone who's done it 115 times.
No, this has been fascinating. Seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the pitchforks and torches from the other Nordic LARPers.
Well,
How
but
do
that's
you?
the great B fun. So
So
yeah.
we're kind of Warhammer nerds here. How have you run like 40K games in this kind of system? Like, what's that been like? You said there were fantasy and 40K scenarios. Do you recall what they were?
I haven't been in a 40K game myself. For Warhammer Fantasy, the one that I did run had like just an inn in the middle of nowhere was being overrun by zombies, and there was actually one of the like barmaids was a necromancer, and the heroes were investigating this. This was more like a typical buffer LARP that we did for the local LARP society. So for my game, there was an untypical amount of NPC characters like the zombies and whatever, and a bit more rules. So they were like at least 5 complete sentences. Instead of just use your goddamn common sense. That is most typical rule of Finnish LARP. But yeah, that's my Warhammer fantasy LARP. We had a lot of young players, a lot of noobs, and other inexperienced players. It was a lot of fun and very chaotic.
That sounds right. I assume you need to like have people come into NPC, the zombies and things. Then yeah, you need to have volunteers get green makeup and gray makeup and so on.
Yeah, volunteers. For that game, I was like, well, we are throwing this thing. Come here, make the day for the newbies, and we will have an after party.
There's a really active Warhammer LARP in Europe, and these guys get together and they do full formations. You can actually search online for Google Warhammer LARP Europe, and you'll see images of like a steam tank that they actually built and drove around at the event. It's pretty wild. I wonder if Andy and Lindsay have ever been to it. Like, that's a good question. I think we should bring up to them.
The Danes have the Krigslivet, which is also a large Warhammer game that happens every year. But then again, Warhammer is really, really big in Denmark as a role-playing game.
I should point out, for anybody who's curious, Yupe is actually one of my playtesters for Wrath and Glory, and his name, I believe, appears in the rulebook as one of the people who playtested it.
Indeed, it does.
Hey, very cool.
And I don't know.
My claim to fame.
So yeah, Yupe had actually helped me work on Wrath and Glory, which is pretty great. But yeah, the fantasy side of Warhammer is very well represented in LARPs. I believe there are 40K LARPs. I know I had a friend of mine who told me about one that took place at Dragon Con a few years back, and it was more of the parlor game style rather than anything else. It was kind of a murder mystery.
That would more or less be my approach to Warhammer 40K as a LARP. It would be a parlor LARP.
It was like a murder mystery, and she was like the Inquisitor, and there were many suspects that she had to interrogate and all this. It sounded really interesting, but it also sounded more like a role-playing game encounter than anything you'd find in the war game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even imagine trying to suit up in Space Marine armor for 6 hours at a convention and be in character the whole time. Like, that's like, wow, bro, you are hardcore.
Yeah, I've seen those guys.
I bet they exist. If you're out there and you're one of these people that has role played as a Space Marine in armor, contact us. Contact us on the Lorebeards channel, because we'd love to talk to you.
But yeah, my LARP organization has been around for almost 30 years now. We are hopefully having a 30-year celebration. Currently having a player problem in the first games. But yeah, we are going to do some tabletop adaptations. At least we are returning to Chlorantha doing stuff that we now can do better than we did 30 years ago as teenagers. God damn, I was off about how Gloranta works when I was 15.
Well, if you check out our episode on RuneQuest, you'll hear all about the Hellbat and the there's the ducks as well are a big thing in there, which is pretty funny. And Glorantha is just a wild setting. Unfortunately, Vera, you weren't there for that one. But if you should listen to it because it gets pretty crazy in Glorantha.
Yeah,
it's a cool setting.
It's also very popular in Finland. Many of my generation started role playing with RuneQuest, so never as popular as D&D, but close by in the early 90s.
Actually, in the late 70s, RuneQuest was the number 2, which I didn't realize until we did that episode. It was actually where Pathfinder is now for a while.
Yeah,
so that's pretty interesting. Anyway, I think we've basically worked out this whole thing about Nordic LARP. Juppe, do you want to say anything before we let you get back to your life there? I mean, it's got to be late in Finland right now.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I knew what I was signing up for when I agreed. But I was on my 3rd bottle of red wine when I agreed. So
we are friends. I do know when is the appropriate time to ask Juppe for a favor.
But if you have the time and resources, people, it's easy to find games in Nordic countries, even in English. So contact us, come to play with us.
Oh, so
and we will, also give you like a complimentary sock puppet for the therapy sessions later on.
I didn't know that these games were held in English. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's more common these days because we are kind of the center of the international LARP scene, even though the big games are typically in Eastern Europe countries or Italy or Spain. But, the Nordic LARP is where they got their ideas. And we want to have the international crowd here as well. We don't do that many blockbuster LARPs here, but we do have many English-speaking games as well. And of course, all the Scandinavians and Nordics more or less speak English better than I do. So
that's true. I can say this with authority. I went to Finland 3 times, and I only found one person that I had to get an interpreter for, which is amazing. Honestly, I was very, very impressed.
When we had a European LARP convention in Denmark back in the day, only person we needed to have like a translator was actually an English speaker from England. No one understood what he was saying.
I see.
Was he Scottish?
No. But yeah, it was terrible when he was trying to ask questions from the Croatians who had only a little bit of English, and we couldn't even, manage to open up the questions because we didn't understand them.
All right.
But yeah.
Thank you so much, Juppe. You've been great. It's been wonderful to talk about this very unique style of role-playing. And I hope we will see you back here at some point in the future. Vera, what else would you like to say before we sign off?
Just that LARP is cool. If there's any lesson here you can take home to your own games, it's that interiority can do a lot for your characters. Give it a shot. Head out to the Nordic regions if you ever want to play a really cool game. I think there's a lot of potential there. I hope the style catches on. I'm very grateful for you coming out here.
Someday virtual reality might make it possible for everybody to be a VTuber and be in a LARP together. That would be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, no, VR is getting there. It just needs to be a little more inexpensive, and then we're going to be doing some cool stuff, I think.
inexpensive and also well, I think the ideal is, of course, the full dive technology where you can't even tell you're in a virtual environment. But yeah, someday.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Maybe possibly within our lifetimes. Who knows? At any rate, thank you so much for joining us, Yuppie. We will catch you guys next time on, we record every Monday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Lorebeards and Roleplaying. So be sure to drop by and let us know what you think. We also have a really active Discord, which I believe has already been posted in the chat. If you want to join our Discord and find out more about what we have coming in the future or discuss anything we've talked about in today's episode. But until next Monday, I guess we will see you at the table.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye, y'all.
Cheers.